Hey out there, everyone. Sorry it's been so long. I'm definitely not a summer person. I don't like heading out there when it's 90 degrees and 90% humidity. This is more my weather. 57 degrees, nice and chilly. A little bit of a breeze, some stars in the sky, some clouds. Anyways, today, time for another. Actually, I think I'm going to do 3 short stories and roll them into one for y'all, because they all tie into the same area. I've talked about ghosts, I've talked about Bigfoot a little bit. So this time I'm going to talk a little bit about ghosts. Not ghosts, I'm sorry, I already did that. How about UFOs or UAPs or whatever you want to call them now? Unexplained objects in the sky. I still think UFO is a better term than UAPs. And yes, you can see here, I have my little RGB sound and light bars. So when they detect any sound, they light up. And it goes all the way down to the infrasound range. So if a UFO or Bigfoot comes around and these things go off, then it'll warn me, it'll let me know. And here's how sensitive they are. Ready? See, so they pick up quite well, not just the human voice. I picked up my footsteps, picked up the snap of my fingers. So yeah, they do a pretty darn good job. So anyways, here I am, the only member of Paranormal Fellowship. I'm out in the middle of an area that I like to go sky watching. I actually started this area a long time ago, and it's sort of been reclaimed by some other people that are now taking up the slack, and they're going through and taking it to the next level, so to speak. But anyways, this all started, this was the first one event was many years ago, and we weren't actually in this location. We're at another location, and we walked out into the woods quite a ways and set up our little lawn chairs like this, and we sat out there. And this is before we really got into like the whole CSETI and, you know, all the first contact stuff. This is just sort of like I don't know, I guess more we're seeing shooting stars and that kind of stuff. So we were out there and we did things. There was 4 of us all together, and we were doing things like some meditation. We were putting our thoughts out there, and, you know, to have a UFO come by, an alien, you know, trying what we could, you know, what we thought was right to get an interaction. Yeah, we waited and we waited and we waited, and I mean, we've seen some cool shooting stars and some planes and satellites and even some things we couldn't explain, you know, in the sky, where you'd see like this white light that would be moving across the sky and then just go out. It wasn't like a meteor or a shooting star because it wasn't going fast, and it wasn't like a satellite because it never came back. So it was just, I don't know, it was just there, and it would go about halfway across the sky and then just disappear. And it happened on more than one occasion. We never knew to this day what it was. So we decided we're going to head out for the night. It was getting late, so we started walking out, and all of a sudden we look up, and here comes one of those white slow moving objects coming towards us. And then it stops, and this white beam just sort of comes out from the bottom of this thing, just comes down facing towards us. And then all of a sudden the white beam comes up, and the object in the sky disappears. And we're like, wow, oh my, you know, that was really cool, you know, oh, what the heck was that? We have no idea. So we start walking after we talk a couple minutes about how cool that was, and we're walking, and we're coming up to this little area where there's a little like pond, and there's some trees and heavy bush around there. And all of a sudden, these bushes start, when I say bushes, I'm 6'1". These bushes are taller than me. They're shaking and rattling back and forth, and we're like, what the heck just did that? And the reason it changed lights is I hit the button on the bottom, I'm sorry. So I can change the colors. I accidentally hit that. I guess it's a good thing I hit that instead of the power button, huh? Oh, how's that color? That's pretty cool. I like blue. So we're like, what the heck is shaking all these trees? What's rattling all these bushes and everything? And there was no like growling or animal noise or anything. It's just these bushes just shook real violently for a couple seconds and stopped. And we're like, okay, let's get the heck out of here. So we, managed to get back to the cars, and we left, and it's like, still don't know what the white object was in the sky that shined a light down on us. We're still not quite sure, what was shaking the bushes or anything like that. But that's why we do this stuff, to find stuff that we can't explain. At least that's why I do it. So that was a really, really cool encounter. Kind of freaky when you're there. When you look back at it, it's like, it's cool. But when you're there, it's like, it kind of puts the hair standing up on the back of your neck, So the next one, we're sitting up here in this actually the exact same spot. And there's 5 of us, and we're sitting here, and now we're to the point where we're doing the C-SETI contact, and playing the tones and doing the meditations, and all that fun stuff. Dr. Greer's protocol, and we're satellites. We're seeing some shooting stars. We're seeing too many planes, can't even count them all. And that light flashing, I'm not quite sure. Someone must be coming up behind us or something. I don't know. And we see a couple of those, white lights that would go across the sky and then just disappear. And, and we were seeing this thing, we call it it's sort of like a curtain. When you look in the sky, it's like you're seeing this shimmering, this whole curtain on the whole one side of the sky. Not knowing what it is. And we're like, okay, it was, another cool night. We've seen a lot of stuff that keeps us coming back. So, and this seems to be our running theme, where when we get ready to leave, something happens. So we're getting ready to leave, and everyone's packing up, and the 4 of us are doing our hugs and saying goodbye. And all of a sudden, the one guy goes, "Oh shit! Look at that!" Now we're star watching, right? We're sky watching. So what would you do? Every one of us, all 4 of us, we start looking up in the sky, and we're looking around, and we're trying to see what the hell. And he's like, "No, look!" So we're turning and spinning, looking around there, and finally he goes, "No, down on the ground." So we look down on the ground, and coming to us no further than 6 feet away is a skunk. And I'm like, don't panic. Nobody make any sudden moves. It'll go away. Let's just let's stay calm. Luckily, it heard us talking, and it just sort of turned and walked away from us. It's like, yeah, I really didn't want to get sprayed with a skunk and then have to be at work at 6 o'clock the next morning smelling like a skunk. But, wouldn't you all sit there and say that if you're out sky watching and then you shout, "Hey, look at that," that everyone's going to look up, not look down at the ground? He could have sat there and said, "Hey, a skunk," or something like that, not just, "Hey, look at that." Oh, boy. Oh, well, live and learn, right? Hey, all right, the last one, and going with the theme, this one's going to be more comical than it is scary. So, in this area, we have also heard the Ohio howl. For those of you that know what it is, it's sort of like it's a recognized howl of Bigfoot that Matt Moneymaker caught over in Ohio. And we're only about an hour from the location where he caught this recording of this Ohio howl. And we've actually heard the Ohio howl where we're at. Well, there's me and 2 others here that night, and one guy's got a really good voice, really deep voice. And instead of doing the whoops, he does rrr, and he does it real loud. So we're sitting there, and we're like, okay, go ahead and do one of your Bigfoot calls, and let's see what happens. So he goes through and his rrr, and he does this Bigfoot holler real loud, and the 3 of us now were just sitting there listening, and then all of a sudden, woo, loud, shaking us through our core. All of our eyes got real big, our mouths hang open, we're swallowing mosquitoes. It wasn't Bigfoot, it was a train. We think the conductor on the train heard his Bigfoot call, so he hit the whistle on the train, scared the bejesus out of all of us. We all just jumped up and looked around and started laughing our asses off. Now, that would be something, though. You do a Bigfoot holler and you get a train whistle back. It only happens to me. What can I say? Well, I should say us, because it happened to the 3 of us that night. I don't know. Well, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I gave you 3 short ones. One that was kind of interesting, scary with the UFO, UAP, and 2 that were just kind of funny. Now, I'm going to sit out here for a little bit with my little light sticks, and got a little bit of clear sky, and see if I can see anything. So I'm going to have to turn off the little light that I'm using to record here with, and see what transpires. How's that sound, Joel? Wish you all good night. God bless the USA.